Nashville Predators, 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's going to coach
Shot by Sherrill.
You're going to see more moves.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Nashville.
The Suit is in the building.
Acknowledge me.
Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And a good Monday, everybody. Welcome in. It is me. It is I, Chase McCabe, back from vacation. Good to be back in the saddle, talking some sports with all of you. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your day. Excited for the same show, different name, basically. Obviously, Michelle left us a few weeks ago. I took a vacation, and now we're here to reset. I've traded one Nick for another. Nick Frazier along for the ride with us. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. McCabe. We're doing well. A lot of stuff happened yesterday with NASCAR, a lot of MLB draft. I mean, we've got a lot to get into today.
Yeah, there's a ton to get into, and that's what we're obviously going to do. We love your calls and your texts as well, 615-737-1025. You can interact with us there. Also, yes, still on Twitter, at Chase on Game or at 1025 The Game too. I am on Threads at the Chase McCabe. I'm still figuring it out. I'm not using it a whole lot, but you can hit us up there. So a lot of different ways to interact with this show, and that, as the promo has been running, and I kind of adopted this phrase, you're going to hear a little bit of everything. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the Titans. There's a lot going on with the Predators, but we will hit a lot of different topics throughout sports in the fastest 2 hours in sports radio is what I love to refer to this show as. So without further ado, we're going to start every show with The Pulse.
Bringing you Nashville's most trending topic.
You can make some noise for that.
It's The Pulse.
The band.
Now with Chase McCabe.
So, yes, we will go through quick hits on some of the big topics in sports and then, expand upon those things as we go along throughout the day. So, obviously, what's on everybody's mind right now has to be DeAndre Hopkins with the Tennessee Titans. That's how we lead.
Number one.
So, DeAndre Hopkins reportedly, of course, still hasn't made a decision on what he's going to do and what team he's going to sign with. I know Kansas City's been out there, but, they don't have any money. They're going to have to get creative and move some things around cap-wise before they can make that move. They can. We all obviously know now. Again, Jared's going to text me and say the cap is fake. I think the cap is – you can manipulate it. I think it's very much real, but you can obviously – it's sometimes monopoly money, so they can move some stuff around. But – over the weekend, it was reported Mike Reese, who is ESPN Patriots NFL Nation reporter, kind of did his blog basically about the Patriots. In number 3 on his long list of things, D-Hop update. He says key points on where things stand with free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, according to sources close to the situation, are as follows: the Tennessee Titans and the Patriots have made offers. The Titans have been more aggressive to this point, and Hopkins hasn't been in a rush to sign. One reason for Hopkins to wait a bit longer is to leave open the possibility of another team entering the mix, potentially increasing his market. Absolutely understand why he's doing that. Jeremy Fowler, also of ESPN, weighed in on the situation and that the Titans could be in a good position.
Tennessee's pretty well positioned here. Like, they've kept in contact. They're in it. They want to sign him, so we'll see if they can get to the finish line. New England's still in the mix, too. I would say Tennessee, New England, who hosted him on a visit, are the favorites right now. The Chiefs have still kept in contact. They just don't have any money. I think in a perfect world they'd like to do it. If they could get the Chris Jones extension done, that would open up some cap space. Maybe they could try to get that in the finish line. I just don't see that. They're probably on the periphery right now. He's still willing to remain patient closer to training camp, but that doesn't mean something couldn't come together in the next week or two.
So there you go. Maybe the next week or two. I still think I think that's a good time range, but the Titans will report to camp on July 25th, so about 15 days from now, 2 weeks, essentially, the Titans will report. I think you get a little closer to that. That's when you're going to get some movement on the D-Hop front. We will discuss more with D-Hop as we have been for the last month or so. We will do that coming up in the next segment, but we move along here in the Pulse.
Number 2.
The one that in hockey, the player that everybody has been watching of where he's going to end up, that is forward Alex DeBrincat. That saga, as a lot of outlets have said, has reached its conclusion. He has been traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Detroit Red Wings, his hometown, and then he immediately signed a 4-year extension worth about $7.875 million per year. That coming out from the other night, or coming out last night, I should say. What happens, or what's coming back the other way? The Red Wings sent winger Dominic Kubalik, a defensive prospect, a conditional 2024 first-round pick, and a 2024 fourth-round pick. That goes back to Ottawa for DeBrincat. I know a lot of people in hockey felt that the Predators were a good fit. I thought they were a good fit. But, as we'll continue to discuss, what I think Barry Trotz is doing is smart. I think those numbers, signing DeBrincat to just a 4-year deal, a little under $8 million per year, I don't think that's bad by any means. If the Preds had done that, if the Preds had made this exact trade, I wouldn't have hated it. But I also understand why maybe they didn't do it. And we don't know if they were in on it or not. Alex Doherty, Penalty Box Radio, joined Robbie and Rexroad earlier today and gave his thoughts on the DeBrincat trade.
Yeah, that's a really good number for Detroit. I really like that for Detroit. And the price to get him doesn't seem that bad. If it's a conditional first round, a fourth-round pick, a defenseman that you don't care about, and then some prospect I've never heard of. So I think it's a really good deal for Detroit. And yet again, Ottawa is left, with not much in the tank, I guess. But I feel like if Nashville was in that race, I feel like they probably could have matched or done better than that. But maybe I'm wrong.
So that was Alex earlier this morning on Alex DeBrincat. And yeah, again, maybe they could have, but maybe it also just doesn't fit the plan and what Barry Trotz is doing with this team right now. Because, again, as we're going to discuss and welcome your thoughts, I missed the free agent frenzy. I like the moves. I like what Barry Trotz is doing. I like how he's assembling this team. I understand it. Even though there might be a couple of pieces that don't make sense to you right now, I think they will in time as he builds this. But DeBrincat on the move, headed to Detroit.
Number 3.
MLB draft, of course, was last night, and Paul Skeens goes number 1 overall from LSU to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Our resident Pittsburgh sports fan, Junie Riddle, I know, is excited about that. I saw that on Twitter. And then his teammate, Dylan Cruz, goes 2nd overall to the Washington Nationals, the Nationals. And so I believe that was the first time that two teammates like that have gone 1-2 overall or from LSU. So I know Caroline will be gloating about that, about her LSU Tigers going 1-2 in the MLB draft. Obviously, some names of local flavor that people were paying attention to. Chase Dollander from Tennessee goes 9th overall to the Colorado Rockies. And then right here in Nashville, Vanderbilt's own Enrique Bradfield Jr. goes 17th overall to the Baltimore Orioles. I like that fit for him. I really do. I think the Orioles are a team, on the come up, and he can add some outfield prowess to that team. And their GM, Mike Elias, weighed in on his newest selection.
He is a premium college player from the most premium conference there is, from the most premium program that there is, and he's been excellent for 3 years there after being identified as a top prospect coming out of high school. I think the conversation with him starts with his center field defense. It's absolutely electric in college, and just historically probably one of the better college center fielder center field defenders that we've seen in a while.
So yeah, and you know, he's a 17th overall pick. So I mean, it'll be a few years before we see him in the bigs. I mean, we know how this works, but you know, sometimes guys from Vanderbilt, especially, have a quicker path to the majors just because of the quality of program that Tim Corbin, you know, runs over there. And I think it's why you've seen so many guys come out of Vanderbilt and make it to the majors. Enrique Bradfield looks to be the next one. So congratulations to him. All the draft picks in the MLB draft as it was last night. And, you know, I will say this probably every year for a long time now. I thank you for moving it to when they did, because it was so just ridiculous to have a game and they find out, oh yeah, hey, you got drafted, you know, whatever. I mean, I remember with Dansby Swanson finding out he was number 1 overall, he was in the middle of a game. And Tim Corbin was very outspoken about it. So the fact that they finally changed that a few years ago, I think is good. So the MLB draft in the books. We move on.
Number 4.
I had to just throw this one in there just because it's me, and they are the greatest team in baseball history. The All-Star break is here. You can hear the Home Run Derby tonight, the All-Star game tomorrow here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. But my beloved Atlanta Braves, best team in baseball. So much fun to watch right now. Already at 60 wins on the season. They have a 8.5 game lead right now on the Miami Marlins in the NL East. Now, I could say that the most fun team to watch in baseball might be the Reds.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you're a Cards fan, right? So
unfortunately,
okay.
yes. Caroline and I are in a very rough position.
I saw your Cardinals earlier this year, 3 games against the Dodgers, and that was when they had that little surge. And I saw 9 home runs in one game, which I still can't get over. But yeah, they're last in the Central. The Central is an interesting division. I mean, I guess it's going to be Milwaukee and Cincinnati.
I believe so, something like that. Maybe Chicago makes a run at it late into the season, but I don't know. That's more of a wild card.
I think they're going
to
sell. Like, I'm hoping they trade Stroman and the Braves end up with him.
Really? You think they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline?
I don't know if they're going to be like hard sellers, but I think they're going to. Yeah, they're going to move on. So.
You know, as for Cincinnati, I think they're about 1 to 2 pitchers away from actually putting together a contending championship team, in my opinion, this year.
Sure, yeah. So, and Ellie De La Cruz, so much what a guy to watch.
To I guess run all 3 bases in 10 seconds when he had his cycle is just unheard of. And then steals all 3 bases this past week, and that's incredible.
Yep. So absolutely crazy. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks fighting for the NL West crown at the All-Star break. Cincinnati with a 1-game lead in the Central in the American League. Texas has a 2-game lead on Houston in the AL West. The AL Central is going to be an interesting fight because Minnesota, Cleveland kind of going back and forth. Detroit knocking on the door, I guess, but 5.5 games back. And then in the AL East, it's Tampa with a 2-game lead over Baltimore. And then you got Toronto and the Yankees and the Red Sox that are they got some work to do in the second half of the season. And also William Byron wins a rain-shortened race in Atlanta last night. It was exciting, though. I really hated that the rain came because I wanted to see that one finish. But he ends up getting the win after they called it with about 75 laps left. That is the Pulse. That's how we're going to start every show here on the Chase McCabe Show with the big topics of the day. And coming up next, we continue the D-Hop discussion because I love the fact that I'm hearing that the Titans are being aggressive. But how aggressive can they be? We'll discuss that next here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com. Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel stays true to the spirit of Music City, the perfect spot for sports and arena concert fans year-round. Savor Bar Lines Originals, the Bar Line Barbecue Burger or Midtown Mushroom Swiss Burger. Excite your taste buds with the Sobro Grinder with smoked turkey, the Boss Hog with whiskey braised pork butt, and the Angry Chicken, pickle brine fried chicken breast with honey sriracha. Attending an event downtown? Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily at 11 a.m. is a great way to kick off your afternoon or evening.
Check, check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save. Right now, get up to 40% off select bathroom faucets and vanities. Plus, buy Southwire Romex Simple 12-gauge indoor wire at our everyday low price of $109. Head to your local Lowe's or visit us at Lowe's.com for more deals you can't beat. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Valid 7/6 through 7/12 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. U.S. only.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators. And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The Suit is in the building. Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're back at it after a week off. I feel refreshed. It's good to do that. Take a mental break every now and then.
Just hit the reset button.
Gotta hit the reset button. You can hit us up on our text line or phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. A little later on, we'll have a pair of 3-day passes to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix at Nissan Stadium, August 4th through the 6th. We'll be giving those away. You know that I love some racing, and it'll be the 3rd year of the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, so be tuning in for that. But talking about DeAndre Hopkins and the report over the weekend, Mike Reese covers the Patriots, very dialed in to the Patriots. We know that the Titans and the Patriots were the two teams that seemed to show the most interest. There were others that maybe were brought up or were thought that they could show interest in DeAndre Hopkins. But the Titans and the Patriots have been the ones. And he also reported that they are the two that have offered him a contract. So DeAndre Hopkins has been offered a contract by either team. But he used the word aggressive when talking to the Tennessee Titans, that the Titans have been aggressive in their pursuit of DeAndre Hopkins. It is no secret that they need help at the receiver position. That right now you got Treylon Burks, who is slotted to be the number 1 receiver, and he should be. That's why you drafted him. You traded A.J. Brown. You want him to do that. But what I would call a up and down rookie year where he dealt with a lot of injuries. Now, he showed flashes, and I think everybody is looking at him as he's going to take the big step forward this year, and he has to. He has to be that player that takes huge leaps for the Titans, even if they do sign DeAndre Hopkins. He still needs some help because you got the only receiver you drafted was in the 7th round in Colton Dowell. Okay, so there you go. You got Racey McMath, who's been around for a few years. Okay, we'll see. You signed Chris Moore in the offseason, who's the veteran of the group for sure. Okay, Kyle Phillips, again, injured last year, showed some promise in camp. Okay, Nick Westbrook-Akina, the other veteran in the group. You obviously need some help. It's no secret there. How aggressive, though, are the Titans being, and how aggressive are they willing to be? Because here's the other part of this that you got to weigh in. Now, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have been creative, and they obviously made some tough decisions and parted with some players that have been here a long time, cleared up some salary cap room. They didn't overspend in free agency, and again, I don't hate it. I'm fine with how they've done things to this point. Now, again, I kind of feel like they should have addressed receiver a little bit more than they have until this point, but I'm starting to wonder, like, was it D-Hop all along? Was that the plan? And Mike Vrabel, trust the process or whatever you want to say, but how aggressive are they willing to be? Because the other thing is, even though they address the offensive line, they're going to be without Nicholas Petit-Frere for 6 games. And so you have to figure that out. Now, I heard Robbie and Rexford throw around Dennis Kelly's name this morning. You guys know I love Dennis Kelly. The Undertaker wrestling guy was, I think, one of John Robinson's best moves as general manager when he got rid of DGB, Dorial Green Beckham, who was no longer in the league, and got Dennis Kelly, who became your swing tackle, could be a backup, could play anywhere. He started, his last year here. He could certainly come in and be maybe not the starter, but depth on the offensive line because you're going to have to move pieces around. So you could do that cheap and still be aggressive with D-Hop.
Absolutely. The thing with D-Hop is that you have a lot of Houston guys with Vrabel. He came from Houston, but also all these other guys he brings in are from either Houston, and whenever Titans get rid of guys, they end up going to Atlanta. So it's almost like a cycle of different players. But for D-Hop, being a Houston guy, he knows the Vrabel way. I could easily see that kind of falling into suit there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Vrabel connection is the one to pay attention to because I think if this ends up happening, you got to credit Mike Vrabel. Because,
100%.
Because of that. Now, I would say Tim Kelly too, because obviously, D-Hop played in his offense and he was the offensive coordinator with Houston. So I would certainly give credit to Tim Kelly. There are a lot of connections, and that's why to me, the Titans make the most sense. Unless Kansas City can clear cap room, then I would get it. If I'm DeAndre Hopkins and I'm ring chasing, then Kansas City makes the most sense. But to me, it's kind of felt like it was going to be the best offer. It was going to be the most the best financial offer for him. And even though Kansas City, could potentially move some money around, kick it down the road like we've seen teams do, I still wonder if the Titans would be able to be more aggressive and give him more of the offer he's looking for. It's not going to be OBJ money, I don't think. I mean, that was a dumb contract, and the reason that Baltimore did it was because, hey, Lamar, look, we're getting you this shiny new toy. Why don't you re-sign? Let's get this done, and it worked. So I just don't see D-Hop getting the OBJ kind of money. But I think the Titans are in a great position to be aggressive and to give him a good contract that will have some incentives to it, and then he could come in here and help this team.
Yeah, I was reading an article yesterday I saw on Twitter from Dove Kleeman, and it mentioned, Titans being very aggressive towards D-Hop for a contract deal. And to me, reading it, and you mentioned incentives, it seemed to me it was more incentivized than actually just the brass tacks of getting a true contract done. So that, to me, I'm wondering if it's going to be more incentives, that's kind of a plus for Titans fans because you're going to get production out of D-Hop. He's going to want that extra money. So, I mean, that's kind of what everybody wants out of their players. They want good, hard-nosed football players.
615-737-1025. How aggressive do you think the Tennessee Titans are being and should be for DeAndre Hopkins and bringing him to Nashville? I mean, we saw that. I mean, it's been over a month, I guess. Yeah, about a month since he visited Nashville. He went to CMA Fest and all of that. I mean, we saw the limo that picked him up. I mean, it seems like they wined and dined him, and then he went off to New England, and that's the only visits that he's had. I did kind of think there would be more visits, that maybe another team would come in. Does that mean that the interest isn't there? Probably. Could it mean that now he likes either the Patriots or the Titans, and maybe he's waiting on Kansas City, to potentially jump in there? I don't know. But again, I think if the Titans can pull this off, it could be soon. I don't think it will be. I think it'll be at least another week or so before he makes a decision, because he has that luxury. I mean, he's not, yes, he could get the playbook and be looking at that and kind of learning that, but he basically knows this offense. So he knows the terminology is going to be a little bit different, but he knows this offense from running it in Houston. So he could wait a few days before reporting for training camp, sign the contract, and then he'll be fine. And then he'll have all of training camp to really get things going. I mean, guys like that, they know. They know what they're doing. So,
right.
I wouldn't worry about it waiting too. Would I have loved for him to be here during OTAs and getting to know, the team? Because I guess the one thing that concerns me, because this is a big deal for Ryan Tannehill, is those two haven't played together. So but you can't really do much right now anyway. So it would be important to have him here day one of training camp so those two can put in some extra work and get in on the same page. But, as we've said, Titans find themselves in a good position, and they're reportedly being aggressive to sign DeAndre Hopkins. Coming up next, talk to my man Willie Donick about some of the moves that the Predators have made while I was gone. I mean, they've been very busy while I was on vacation. We'll talk to Willie D about that next. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You don't get better by trading away good players.
They've had more winning seasons than not.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. Now, when you use my promo code CHASE, you can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus, win or lose. It is that simple. Superbook will match your first bet up to $250. All you need to do is use my name, Chase, in the promo code slot when you sign up. It's that simple. Just download that app, enter my name, Chase, and boom, you're good to go. They got everything at the palm of your hand on the Superbook Sports app. You can obviously got the All-Star game tomorrow in baseball. They got futures bets up. I mean, you even got NBA Summer League that you can jump in on right now. On today at 5 o'clock when the Grizz play Cleveland, they're a 4.5-point favorite. It's right there on the Superbook Sports app. Use my promo code CHASE when you sign up, and you'll get that $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here for PhD Weight Loss. I wanted to do something about my weight and my health, and so that's why I gave PhD a call. Dr. Ashley Lucas is the brainchild behind it. She's a best-selling author. She has put this entire program together, and everything is tailor-made just for you because we are all different individuals. For me, I'm averaging about 3 pounds per week on this program, and I'm down about 15 pounds overall since I started the program. I have one-on-one coaching sessions with my coach. The program is tailor-made just for me with customized meal plans. The food is really good. The soups, the shakes, I like it all. And you can also eat your own food as well. But 85% of that food will be provided for you. Here is their offer guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That is their offer to you. MyPhDweightloss.com is the website. That's MyPhDweightloss.com.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Summit offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Hermitage location specialize in general orthopedics, sports medicine, and hip and knee pain and injuries. Get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Conveniently located in the TriStar Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, right off I-40. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Hey, did you tune in late? It's okay. It happens. You can subscribe to the Chase McCabe podcast wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, doesn't matter. Rate, subscribe, and review today.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. The suit is in the building.
3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch, 3-hour lunch.
3 hours. Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. And, of course, you can watch our smiling faces on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Video streaming presented by Superbook Sports. Download their app. Use that promo code CHASE when you sign up. Now, this show has been rebranded the Chase McCabe Show. There have been a few iterations of this in my career. The first was when I was on college radio back at MTSU, and my first show, my very first guest was Willie Donick. So I had to bring Willie D on. You know, Willie and I have obviously become good friends and co-hosts and all those things, but Willie, it just felt fitting to bring you on as the first guest of the new Chase McCabe Show.
All right. Well, that's good to hear, Chase. I got to be honest. I'm trying to remember, what did we talk about on that? What were the subjects when I came on your show when you were at Middle?
It was the Predators, and I still have that interview, and like I will go back and listen to it and cringe because I was terrible. But yeah, no, we talked about the Predators, and it's kind of funny because around that time they were sort of in a, maybe not like they are now, but a little bit of a transition. I mean, they had gotten over the hump of getting. I think they had gotten out of the first round at that point, or maybe not actually. Yeah, they had beaten Anaheim, and so they were kind of in that, all right, well now how do they get, past the second round and into the conference championship and all those things. And so we find them in that transitional phase that they're in right now. I missed all the free agent moves. I was on vacation, but I will say this. I like what they've done. Even if there are things that you might go, okay, well, that doesn't make a ton of sense. It does, because I know exactly what Barry Trotz is trying to do, and that is he's changing the culture within this team, and I think he's done a nice job of it so far.
I think there's no question that changing the culture, it was the number one priority. He wanted to surround Roman Josi with even more guys who have been, as he calls them, serial winners, and guys that are going to be tremendous influences on really the key to the team going forward. And that's this group of young players that we saw come up last year and do so well for them. And the next group of people, some of which we saw last week at the development camp, that are going to be on their way and playing for the Predators in the future. So really, that's the best way to describe it. But I would also go as far as to say, I don't think they gave up a ton of talent in the net result. I think they're about the same as they looked going into last year. I think in terms of the overall ability to win, I think that'll be the interesting thing to watch is, can they sort of have their cake and eat it too? Take a step back in terms of maybe some experience, but compared to the beginning of last year, but also maybe be just as good with the moves that they made.
You and I sat here in the studio and did a show on free agency day when they signed Matt Duchene. And that was one of the worst kept secrets in all of sports. Everybody knew that David Poyle was pursuing him. He wanted to come to Nashville. It had to get to free agency. You know, Kyle Turris was kind of the consolation prize at the time. They couldn't pull the trade off. You know, he's in Columbus, he's in Ottawa, all these things. They finally get it done. And I mean, I remember us discussing it of, hey, okay, I like the move. The window's wide open right now for this team. He's only going to add to it. And for whatever reason, you know, he obviously showed signs later. You know, it took a couple years. The first 2 years of the contract were not good at all for Matt Duchene. And then he has a career year, scores over 40 goals. You're thinking, okay, that's the guy they signed. And then it fell off again last year. Ultimately, why do you think it maybe not didn't work, but ultimately didn't live up to the expectations that we all had for him?
That's a really good question. I do think if you really go back and look at his career from the beginning, and he's been in a number of different places now, and the next chapter for him will be in Dallas, where he's going to be in a different role than he was for the Predators. When he earned the ability to be a free agent in a year where he was one of the best, if not the best guy on the market in terms of just pure offensive skill, you know, it was good timing for him. But I think in retrospect, he probably was just never worth, just to be brutally honest, the $8 million. And we did discuss that. You'll remember, Chase, you know, what was he worth? You know, he hadn't been on big winning teams to that point. He was a guy that certainly had a ton of ability and talent and skill. And as Elliot Friedman always says when he's on with us, guys who can score get paid, right? But I think if you take it to the next level, did he help a team win when he wasn't scoring? I think that's probably one of the faults in his game. You know, he's not a guy that has tons of layers to his game. He's got to score like he did 2 years ago to be a truly effective player that's worth $8 million a year. You know, he's a very, very good hockey player. But when you're paying a guy $8 million, you've got to have huge production to get return on your investment. And so there was really only 1 year that he played for the Predators that you got that type of return on the investment.
Yeah, 100%. Willie Donick is with us talking some Preds and the moves that they made. You guys had an opportunity on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk to Gus Nyquist, who's one of the free agent signings. And again, this was a guy that, you know, when Barry Trotz said he didn't expect to do a whole lot in free agency, now he kind of shocked us a little bit, but if you look at the contracts and the numbers, you know, it's still very team friendly. Gus Nyquist was a guy that I think fit the mold of what you thought they might be looking for. And when it comes to, you know, maybe he's a 15-ish goal.
Really talked to Gus Nyquist before he became a Predator. So that was my first chance to really hear him in an interview setting. I was really impressed. So I can see what the Predators saw with him as a character guy. He reminds me a little bit of a guy like Calle Yarncroke, right? He's soft-spoken, classy player, versatile player that you can play on the second line, the third line, even the first line for a night or two if you need to. And he's been a very steady secondary scorer. But I think the key is he can be a guy that, let's say that Luke Evangelista is on a hot streak and Luke Evangelista plays in the first line. That's great. You can move Gus Nyquist down to the third line and he can still help you win. But if a guy like Evangelista or a Tomasino struggles, that's where you could move Gus Nyquist up and he could maybe fill the gap. And he's going to end up with that 15 to 20 goal tally if he can play at the level he's been playing. You know, that's the question that everybody has is can guys who are now 32, 33, which is really the average age of some of these veterans they brought in, can they still play at that level for the next couple of years? That's the gamble that I think Barry Trotz is taking. But as we said with Duchene, Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson had to play top roles and score a lot to be effective. Gus Nyquist and Ryan O'Reilly can help you win in a more layered fashion. And so I think that's the idea, and you get them for less money.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you mentioned Ryan O'Reilly. They also signed Luke Shin. Shin's a guy that, I think that's the one that everybody is a little confused by because of where they are defensively. Right now, you're kind of adding a player that's similar to players that you already have. Now, the process is not done yet. I think there could certainly be more moves out there. But what did you think of him? And I know Hal Gill is kind of a Luke Shin supporter and has worked with him in the past.
Yeah, well, Luke Shin, I don't think it should be confusing at all in terms of the character part of it, right? He's a serial winner. He's won 2 cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He sort of reinvented himself in a way of being effective on the ice. But let's be honest, he's not going to be a Norris Trophy winner at all. But what he is going to do is hopefully, because of his reputation, his toughness, his character, he's going to protect Roman Josi. He doesn't necessarily have to play with Roman Josi because really Luke Shin ideally is on a third pair, 15 minutes a night kind of guy, killing penalties, using his size, using his savvy. But he's probably getting paid a little extra for sort of the Ryan Reeves kind of thing, the respect, the ability to police what's going on out there. And you think about the concussions that sidelined Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg's seasons, that's something that they were wary of, right? You need layers of protection for guys like that to protect your investment. And so Shen's a big part of that. That's what you're paying for.
What did you think of Alex DeBrincat going to Detroit? I know he's been talking to the media, and he's pretty much said that's where he wanted to go the whole time. That's where he's from. But they ultimately get the move and only sign him to a 4-year extension.
Yeah, I think at DeBrincat, in order to get to Detroit, I think Steve Yzerman held out. He knew DeBrincat wanted to go to Detroit, but he was not going to make the mistake of committing to 8 years, which is what DeBrincat probably wanted. So he got pretty good money. I think DeBrincat wanted a little bit more than he got. I think he got, 7.87, something like that. But only 4 years. That's a huge win for the Red Wings to get a guy of his ability to score for only 4 years as opposed to being on the hook for 8. And DeBrincat, of course, is only 25, so you're getting his prime years. So to me, that's a really good move for the Red Wings, and I'm wondering how many other GMs can find that sweet spot to where you're not feeling like you're on the hook for a guy's mid-30s at the end of one of those 8-year contracts.
No doubt about it. Willie, and real quick, Enrique Bradfield going to the Orioles. I like that fit for him.
Man, I'll tell you, the Orioles, they have come on like gangbusters if people haven't noticed. They already have stockpiled a bunch of young players that are helping them win right now. But think about what's in the pipeline. You got Bradfield now, who I think is going to be a dynamite player. You've also got Matt Holliday's son, who is just scratching the surface, right? He's only about 20 years old. I think he might be playing in the futures game here, but so he's coming through. The Orioles, it's taken a while, and they took a beating for a long time. It reminds me of the Astros several years ago when they were horrendous, but they, little by little, they sort of tanked, but they were smart, and they built it. And now the Orioles are starting to see the talent come through. They're going to be good for a long, long time now, and Bradfield is going to help them.
Yep, that is for sure. Willie, always good to talk to you. We'll be listening starting at 11. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, thanks so much for doing this.
All right, Chase. Talk to you soon.
All right, Willie Donick joining us. And again, Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2 weekdays here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can also catch Willie D on Bally Sports as the TV voice of the Nashville Predators. Coming up next, everyone is talking about Barry Trotz, and they should. Absolutely they should. But what about Andrew Brunette and the role that he's going to play in this reset, if you will, for the Nashville Predators? We'll discuss that next here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's Black Friday in July at Electronic Express. Get up to 50% off in every department. Don't miss a TCL 65-inch Roku TV for only $349 or an LG laundry pair for just $499 each. Save on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, and more. Get an Acer Aspire laptop for just $199 or a Ring Video doorbell for only $149. Get up to 5 years special financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
312 Pizza Company is a proud sponsor of Nashville Sounds Baseball on 102.5 The Game.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Election Day in Davidson County is August 3rd. Don't forget to cast your vote for mayor, vice mayor, at-large council members, district council members, and Tennessee House of Representatives District 51. This important election will help shape the future of our region. Early voting is from July 14th through 29th. If necessary, the runoff election will take place September 14th. For more information on registration, early voting, and polling locations, visit the link at thegamenashville.com.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is that it has the perfect amount of spice to jumpstart my day. Whoever thought of it, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Robert, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A Spicy Chicken Biscuit is the biscuit. It reminds me of my grandma's homemade biscuit. It's always buttery and savory. Then you add the spices, instant classic.
Order the Spicy Chicken Biscuit on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds return from the All-Star break Friday at Louisville. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6 o'clock.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
You're listening to Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's your first message to the group when you talk to them? I know I saw some of the guys at the press conference there, and I know I'm sure you'll probably see some guys scattered throughout. Again, half your team from the end of last year is in Milwaukee right now. But when you get with the guys, kind of what is the opening message from Coach Andrew Burnett?
Let's be energetic and let's be enthusiastic and let's do the right things. And I think if you do the right things and you bring those two things to the forefront every day, you have a chance in this league, and we see it every year. There's teams. You could look at New Jersey last year. If you ask me, is New Jersey going to be where they are? You know, maybe not. But I think it gets contagious if they're willing to buy into the energy, the enthusiasm, and doing the right thing. So, again, it's a really exciting time. I think there's a really exciting players. A lot of these guys have been into some big games, and then we're talking about some of our younger guys getting a playoff run, invaluable experience, and we'll know where they are in training camp. And, again, you'll get a better vibe of or at least I will, of where we're really at and where we can be.
That was Predators head coach Andrew Brunette when he was sitting down with Jared Stillman when he was introduced. So into May, early June. Obviously, a lot has changed with his team since then, roster-wise. Back here, Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, 615-737-1025. If you want to weigh in on the conversation on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Henry talking about Matt Duchene. He only broke the 30-goal mark twice in his career. It was never worth $8 million. And, you know, Henry, I got to agree with you on that. I mean, you know, before we get into the Brunette part of this, you know, I was when the Duchene move happened, when they bought him out, I was shocked. I did not expect that. You've heard me say it on these airwaves that I felt either one of Johansson and Duchene would be gone this year. I didn't think there was a scenario where they would both be gone. And if they were going to buy anybody out, I thought it was going to be Johansson. And so they end up trading Johansson, albeit eating, $4 million of the salary, trading Johansson to Colorado for a player that they didn't re-sign. So basically just got rid of him, a salary dump. And then they bought out Duchene. I was shocked, but I also get it. It's changing the standard is a phrase that I've kind of been using lately. That's what Barry Trotz is doing. And Andrew Brunette is going to help him do that. When you heard that clip of Andrew Brunette that we played as answer to Jared, he sounded like Barry Trotz. That was a guy that you could tell he played for Barry Trotz. That we're going to bring energy and we're going to have fun, but we'll work for the guy next to you. Those kind of things. It's changing that culture, and that is what Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette are now going to do. And I liked Ryan Johansson a lot. Joey was always great to deal with, but I understand it. Duchesne was different. I mean, I didn't get to know Matt as well because, he was here, he got here, and then COVID happened pretty quick, and so the access wasn't there anymore, and so I just never felt like I could get to know him as much. And then when things opened up again, I was kind of in a different position in my career, and I just wasn't around as much, and so my interactions with him, he was a nice guy. But, clearly I think that Barry and Andrew looked at this as they need different kind of leadership in the room for these young guys, that they want to return to the Predator way. And they ultimately didn't think that Duchesne fit that. And the quote that Barry had, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want guys to come to Nashville to retire. I want them to come to Nashville to win. And I felt like that was directed towards Matt Duchesne. And whether it was or it wasn't, I'm just giving you my opinion, that it felt like that was directed towards him, and they're trying to change that mindset. Andrew Brunette is 100% going to play a huge role in that. I remember Andrew Brunette as a player. I liked him. He was here the first year, scored the first goal, but when he was with Minnesota, and when he was playing for Minnesota, I was still learning the game of hockey. I didn't know the players like I do now. But I remember looking at him going, that's a guy that I'd love to have back on this team because of the way that he plays. Well, now you're seeing that as a coach. He had to take over in a really awkward circumstance in Florida when Joel Quenneville was let go. He was, up for the Jack Adams. They won a lot, and ultimately they made the decision to not give him that job full time because of the way it went in the playoffs. And I don't necessarily disagree with bringing in somebody like Paul Maurice that has the skins on the wall. I mean, that's why they did it. But at the same time, I think that Brunette having that experience of the 1 year in Florida as the interim head coach, and then taking a step back, going to New Jersey and working there for a year, you see what New Jersey did. I mean, New Jersey is a team that I think is going to be around for a while. I think that's ultimately going to make him a better coach. He talked about that when he was introduced, that, yes, it was disappointing, but it also allowed him to take a step back and learn a little bit more about what it takes to be a winning head coach in this league. And now ultimately he's going to get his opportunity. And I think it's going to be a good fit because he, along with Barry, can put his hands on things, put his stamp on things, and create this team, the way that he wants it to be created. Now, Barry Trotz, being the coach that he is obviously going to have influence, but that's okay. And Andrew Brunette knew that. And I think, again, that's why this is such a good opportunity. I mean, why would you not want to talk to Barry Trotz and hear what he has to say? He won a Stanley Cup. He helped build a team from scratch, along with David Poyle here in Nashville. Andrew obviously remembers that. So to me, I think it's a good thing. But, he also says he wants the team to have fun and enjoy what they're doing and not taking things seriously, but looking at it as ultimately, yes, you make a lot of money, but it's a game. And go out and enjoy the game and enjoy playing the game of hockey. And I'm not saying that hasn't been the case here the last few years, but I do feel like that when I hear a guy that's going to be my head coach say that gets me fired up. That's a guy I want to run through a wall for. And that's Nick, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's almost like hitting the reset button, like we were talking with you going on your little week, vacation there. You take a little reset button because with the Preds, like it was almost like there was tension that like, oh, they needed to win with this core. Yeah. I mean, they're on the backside of this core, winning something for the Stanley Cup here or something like that. No, with Barry saying, hey, this is a fresh start. This is a good opportunity for us to really just start clean. And sure enough, you're coming back with the core guys that really brought everything together with this franchise back in '98. So it's just kind of all coming full circle.
It's funny, and kind of having this conversation. Jared and I were texting yesterday about he was at the Braves Rays game, and he brought up that they made a Rays Hall of Fame and put in some guys, and he was like, who would you have in the Preds first Hall of Fame if they were to do a Hall of Fame? And I'm like, well, obviously Pecorino. He's already got a statue and number retired, so put Peck in there. Shea Weber, and not counting guys that are still playing. I mean, obviously Yossi will be in there eventually,
right?
When he's done. He said, "What about Peter Laviolette?" And I was like, at first, I'm like, no, but then I thought about it more, and he did. I mean, all the banners and everything that are in that arena right now were on his watch. I mean, he had the most success that they've ever had. David Poile, obviously, I would put in there too, but it made me think about it, and that is the standard that, yes, Barry laid the groundwork for, but they had to make that decision to move on and to change the standard and the ways that they have been doing things. And Mike Fisher was kind of a transitional piece in that kind of helped them go to the next level. Shea Weber was, but they ultimately were like, we got to make a tough decision again and move on from Shea Weber to get PK Subban because that's the spark that they needed. And so Barry Trotz is doing that now. And the hope is that, that Andrew Brunette is going to be what Peter Laviolette was during that era. Now, Peter Laviolette had skins on the wall. He had won a Stanley Cup. He had taken another team to a Stanley Cup final. That's why he got the job. Andrew Brunette is just getting started. And so they're not apples to apples there with those two guys, but it's certainly interesting, to think about and to see. And I think a lot of this year, the what this new standard is going to be starts with the head coach, Andrew Brunette. We'll talk more about some of the moves that Barry Trotz and the Predators have made coming up next here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Tears for Fears. Live in concert. The Tipping Point Tour, Part 2. With special guest, Cold War Kids. Tears for Fears. This Tuesday at First Bank Amphitheatre in Franklin, Tennessee. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Concert Series.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
School on! Save on!
Sounds like it's back to school time, and Staples has great prices on everything you need for school. Save on markers and crayons. Save on notebooks and folders. And right now at Staples, save big on tech with up to $250 off select computers. Staples, where savings for school are always in session. N729, in-store only. See associate for details.
When it comes to Chase McCabe,
The Nashville Predators, the Titans, the NBA, college football, talk a little racing.
You get a little bit of everything.
But hey, you know what? We're getting it done.
Join Chase McCabe weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Frazier. Last night in the NASCAR Cup Series at the Quaker State 400, William Byron was named the big winner. With 75 laps to go, the checkered flag came out early due to inclement weather. Meanwhile, the U.S. men's national team won in the quarterfinals last night versus Canada. Nashville SC's Canadian forward Jacob Schaffelberg scored in extra time to briefly give the Canadians the lead. The U.S. went on to win 3-2 in penalty kicks with 2 big saves from Matt Turner.
If he misses, if Turner saves, the United States moves on to the Gold Cup semifinal. And it's off the bar! The U.S. wins it!
Later on this evening, the MLB All-Star festivities continue with the Home Run Derby. The hometown kid Mookie Betts will be competing as he takes on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the first round. The Home Run Derby is set to start at 7 p.m. Central Time. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 1025 and 1063.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Nashville.
The suit is in the building.
Acknowledge me.
Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2, Chase McCabe Show, 1025, 1063 The Game. Chase McCabe, Nick Frazier with you on this Monday. Hope you're having a fantastic start. You can weigh in 615-737-1025. That's our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I got a text I'm going to get to in just a second on a potential trade the Predators could make. We'll also have your chance to win 3-day passes to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix coming up in just a few minutes, so we'll be listening for that. Greg A. on our text line says, Chase, what do you think? Fabro and a draft pick for Brett Pesce, of course, with Carolina. That's been rumored that the Predators could be in on him. I probably would do that. I mean, if they're going to add to the defense, I mean, it's already a logjam at defense with the signing of Luke Shin. They're going to have to move a piece. Now, to me, Jeremy Lozon is the one that I would look to move, but he's got, I think, 2 years left on the contract. Pesce is interesting. 28 years old, been there for a while, since 2013, since he was drafted. But he's somebody that, I remember in the bubble series, or not the bubble series, but the COVID year where they played the different divisions in Carolina. They obviously met Carolina in the playoffs. He was a guy that kind of stood out to me. So I would do that. I mean, I like Dante Fabro, and I think towards the end of the year, that was the Dante Fabro that everybody had been waiting to see. I'm also curious of what Andrew Brunette and his staff can do with him, because I feel like that they're going to be able to get more out of Dante Fabro than maybe we've seen over the course of the last few years. Carrier could be the piece that ends up getting moved. Robbie was pointing out this morning he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's on a 1-year deal. Fabro would be an RFA, so maybe that's more appealing to a team to know that you have a little more control there. But I'm curious there. But if they could add Pesce to the fray, I think that's an upgrade. But you got to figure out what to move, because it's a logjam right now at defense with this team. But speaking of the moves, I mean, there's been several. We've talked about, Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone. Could that be addition by subtraction? Time will tell. They signed Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Shin come in, and then also Gustav Nyquist was signed by the Predators. And, as we talked about with Willie a little bit ago, he was on their show. That was the first time that he had an opportunity to talk to him. He was very impressed by him. I went back and listened. So was I. And, the thing that stood out to me is when he was asked about Nashville's style of play and how he can add to that.
to Nashville, what was kind of your impression maybe of the environment here in Nashville or the style of play that the Predators have traditionally played with in the last few years?
Yeah, I think even going back to, I can't remember what year, but maybe 12, 13, somewhere in there. I remember we had a playoff series when I was with Detroit against Nashville. We lost to Nashville in the first round there. Don't quote me on the year, but sometime back then. But always a great building to play in. Game seems to go faster. I think the crowd really helps too. It's a really good atmosphere in this building, and it's always an intimidating place to come in and play. So that'll be fun to be on the right side of that. That'll feel great. So I'm excited to get the season started here.
That was Gustav Nyquist last week on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. And, yeah, he referenced that series that with Detroit, and that was something I was referencing earlier of it was that changing of the guard that the Predators had gotten through the year before. They'd beaten Anaheim in the first round. And then that year they beat Detroit in the first round, and I think it was Phoenix they ran into the next round and ended up losing. They couldn't solve Mike Smith. But Nyquist remembers that. That was that, when Detroit, and really that's when Detroit was, that was kind of the end of their heyday, what they're trying to get back to now. And so he referenced that it's always been a tough place to play. And it has, and we know what Smashville can be. Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette are trying to get it back to that, where, not only is it a tough crowd to play in, I mean, standing ovations, those things, but that the players are bringing that tough, hard-nosed mentality. And I think Nyquist is going to add to that. I mean, Nyquist, to me, is such a at this point in his career, is such a Barry Trotz type player of that, maybe he's 33, going to be 34. He's certainly on the back nine of his career, but he had 11 goals last year, 27 points. Okay, the numbers don't blow you away by any means, but you're not asking them to. I mean, you're not asking him to come in here and be a 20-goal scorer anymore. He hadn't been a 20-goal scorer since 18-19, which is when he left Detroit. And that's okay. Again, I'm not asking him to do that at this point. They do have to figure out where the scoring is going to come from. Philip Forsberg, I think he's going to be more determined than you've ever seen him because he basically lost half the season because of the concussion and was out. I think he's going to try and get back to where he was the year before and being a 40-goal scorer, because to me that was not that was not an anomaly. He can be a 40-goal scorer. He's got to stay on the ice, got to stay healthy, and then he's got to stay consistent. Philip's always been a little bit of a streaky player, which, again, is okay as long as the good streaks are coming more than the bad streaks. But, I mean, think about how many times, we talk about February where they'd come in buckets, and that's exactly what I think they're trying to get him back to. But then what else? Who else is going to score? Ryan O'Reilly is not necessarily that guy. He had 16 goals last year. Last time he was a 20-goal scorer was 21-22 with St. Louis. So he's a little bit older. If you can get him back to 20, that'd be great. But what's Evangelista going to be? What's Parsonen going to be? Time is still going to tell, because those are two very, very young players. They got to figure out where some of the scoring is going to come from, and it can't all be Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, and mentioning Parsonen and Evangelista, with those names, and if they develop to the potential that they have shown throughout last season, I think that'll open up more opportunities for Forsberg to get back to that prime form of his goal scoring abilities.
Yeah, I mean, you can somewhat equate it to if the Titans add DeAndre Hopkins, then all of a sudden that changes the way a defense looks at the offense. Because
Absolutely.
If you have Treylon Burks, DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Chikakonkwo on the field all at the same time, you obviously can't focus on all of them at one time. Just like, let's use Luke Evangelista as an example. If Evangelista turns out to be a 25, 30 goal scorer which I don't know if that's his potential or not, but let's say it happens. Well, yeah, that is going to make it harder to throw all of your focus onto Forsberg. Obviously, hockey's different because you have different lines and they're not on the ice at the same time, but that's certainly the one way to look at it, and that's what their hope is, that some of these guys develop into that. They got to find that next bona fide goal scorer, and it's been a while before, since they've really been able to find. They've never been able to find an elite goal scorer in their history. Forsberg, I would say, is the closest that they've come to that. They signed Paul Kariya, in the back end of his career, and he still holds some records, obviously, and did a tremendous job. But he wasn't the same Paul Kariya that we saw in the Anaheim Ducks documentary that's out right now from E60. So they got to find that dude, and the next dude, and maybe Matthew Wood can become that. Their first round pick that they took this year, but that's going to take some time. Forsberg needs help, though, and that is ultimately, and they may not solve that this year. Barry Trotz has said multiple times that it's going to be a process. It's going to take a while. You can't fix it all in one off season. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of pain, and I think what he meant by that, we're now seeing of the fact, if you go to capfriendly.com and you look at how much dead money they have that's going to Johansson and Duchesne. Yeah, that hurts because you're admitting you're admitting defeat from that point, but you're also doing it for the greater good as you move forward and make this a better team. So time will tell. That is for sure, and we'll have a lot of time. And I don't think they're done yet. Either.
No.
I don't think they're done by any means with some of these moves.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you is, where could the Preds go next in this frenzy of free agency?
I think the Pesce trade is interesting. That could be on the list. Now that DeBrincat is done, you can move on from that. Okay, DeBrincat's not coming here. Could he still strike up a deal for another winger, another forward that can add goal production? I mean, because if they had made the move for Alex DeBrincat, then that would have been the best. That would have been what I'm talking about. That elite goal scoring forward. They're not going to be able to do that now. So I don't know if there's another move that he's looking at. Some more depth moves. That's kind of where I think it's going to go. Is there'll be more depth pieces that are added, but I don't think they're done. So
yeah,
it'd be just something to kind of pay attention to.
Okay, noted. Yeah, I was just curious because all the guys that Barry's brought in, and a lot of people are probably paying more attention of what the production will be on the ice. For me, I look at it what it's going to be like off the ice and in the locker room. All these veteran pieces he's brought in, I feel like is going to help the Preds in the long run for the maturity aspect of the younger players, to help them, I guess, be more of the professionalist type, aspect of the game, if you know what I'm getting at. Be more professional off the ice, in the locker room, and carry yourselves with, this better aspect of the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 615-737-1025. That is the phone number, and what you will need to be caller number 5 right now to win a pair of 3-day passes to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix at Nissan Stadium August 4th through the 6th. Caller number 5, 615-737-1025 will win those 3-day passes right now. Coming up next, we get back into the Titans. Should Titans fans be worried if Kansas City can somehow make some cap room? We'll discuss that coming up next here on Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Green right, box 2 run, double K. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take!
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The FedEx St. Jude Championship returns to TPC Southwind August 9th through the 13th. Don't miss your chance to witness the top 70 players from the PGA Tour season battle it out in the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Only 50 players will make it through Memphis. Don't miss your chance to watch the drama unfold. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
Built upon a solid foundation of cast iron and steel, the Kubota LO1 series is part of our tractor lineup, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They feature powerful Kubota diesel engines and easy operation. The durable Kubota LO1 series. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds return from the All-Star break Friday at Louisville.
Swing and a miss, strike 3, Sounds win.
Pre-game at 6 o'clock.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
You're listening to Chase McCabe.
He did not want to rehearse, and he wanted to leave as soon as possible.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know, I guess then the
Patriots, they offered more money.
Yeah, I mean it's basically how do you view that at this point, and where this might go?
My view hasn't changed. I still think he's signing with this team. I still think it's been this team's plan all along. I think if he signs with the Patriots, he's crazy. And look, if he does sign with a team like Kansas City, you know, it's going to be for far less money. And I think he's holding out hope that maybe one of those elite teams sneaks in there, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think at the end of the day, he's going to sign with this team and he's going to be there. I mean, that's just what I believe. Do I believe it 100%? No. You know, he's 100% till it happens. But if I had a large pile of chips in front of me, I would push a large percentage of them out front.
Corey Curtis, News 2 on Robbie and Rex Road earlier today. He put a large sum of his chips. Are they fake chips? I'm going to assume they're fake chips, Corey. But he would slide those in on D-Hop coming to Nashville. I agree with him. I mean, I think with what is available right now, with the teams that have shown interest, which it appears to be the Titans and the Patriots, the Titans are certainly the best fit. Kansas City, they would change the game. If I'm him, I get it. And we'll talk to Jonathan Hutton about this coming up in about 10 minutes when he joins the show. I would understand if all of a sudden, and for the way that Kansas City can do this is Chris Jones is probably going to get a contract extension before it's all said and done. He's due for one. He deserves one. And if they do that, then they can manipulate the salary cap, move some money down the road, and then open up a little more cap room, and then they might be able to pursue DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know what D-Hop is wanting. I know that the Titans have been aggressive. I don't know what that means. I don't know how much they've offered. So it could still be a scenario where Kansas City comes along and they're like, hey, look, we can't offer you what Tennessee or New England's offering you, but we're the Chiefs. We just won the Super Bowl. You can play with Patrick Mahomes. If that's what he cares about, then I wouldn't blame him. I'd get it. I would totally understand it. I would hate it, obviously, for us here in Nashville, but I would get it. But I also don't think – I think if he was truly ring chasing, then he would have jumped on with Kansas City or Buffalo or, whatever already for, for no money.
Exactly. Like a 1-year deal for I wouldn't say league minimum, but like $1 or $2 million, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, like he would have. It wouldn't have been about the money,
right?
Yeah. So I don't think it's that. I don't think he's ring chasing. I think he wants to get paid. Now he wants to be on a competitive team, and I think the Titans, even as currently constructed, would be more competitive than the Patriots because I think he got a better quarterback. I mean, I don't think Mac Jones is a very good NFL quarterback.
Right there with you.
And say what you want about Ryan Tannehill. And, yes, he has – we'll go back to Cincinnati forever until the end of time unless he somehow wins a Super Bowl for this team. Everybody will always bring up that game. I get it. He's not perfect. But if you're Hopkins and, this is an offense that you're familiar with, it's a head coach that you're familiar with, it's an offensive coordinator that you're familiar with, I look at the quarterback and I go, yeah, I think I could do some things with that guy. And, even at his age where maybe you look at DeAndre Hopkins and go, well, he's not in his prime anymore, he's still pretty damn good.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, if you look at, I don't want to compare it to A.J. Brown, but if you look at old tape of A.J. Brown with Ryan Tannehill, there are a few plays where Tannehill just throw it up in the corner or throw it to the sideline. There are just a lot of similarities in route patterns with D-Hop that could be compared to A.J. and D-Hop, side by side. So that would be a good way to kind of look at a sample size of what D-Hop could be with Ryan Tannehill. If you're a Titans fan listening, you're like, I wonder what it could look like. Well, there you go. Get some similarities, try to piece that together in your brain, and that's what it could look like.
Yeah, Mike Reese, who is the one that reporting, and he covers the Patriots for ESPN, does a fine job. He in his little blog, he had two things on D-Hop. According to sources close to the situation, the Titans and the Patriots have made offers. The Titans have been more aggressive to this point, and Hopkins hasn't been in a rush to sign. One reason for Hopkins to wait a bit longer is to leave open the possibility of another team entering the mix, potentially increasing his market. He goes on to say D-Hop's incentive, if it remains between the Titans and the Patriots, one question Hopkins might have to ask himself is which team gives him a better chance to cash in on incentives and maximize his earnings. Given his proven production and Bill O'Brien's offense from their time together with the Houston Texans, perhaps that would give New England an edge. They're going to run the same offense. Tim Kelly ran that offense. It's going to be the same. So if you're saying that, working with Billy O, who he did not get along with towards the end, let's think New Englanders and people that cover the Patriots want to forget and gloss over that.
Thank you for clarifying that, by the way. There are people that are just out there thinking, oh, no, it's all good, roses and all you up. No, it was not.
No. Now, have they probably moved on? Yeah. I mean, in this league, you got to have thick skin. You got to move on. I mean, if he truly just held this grudge against Bill O'Brien and it didn't want anything to do with him, he wouldn't have taken the visit. Even though Belichick is the top dog and he's the one that you got to worry about in New England. I mean, he wouldn't have taken the visit, and so he did. So, but certainly isn't a thing to gloss over by any means, but he's going to run the same thing basically here in Nashville with Tim Kelly.
Absolutely. And, you know, with Tim Kelly, a lot of people don't realize this as well. When he was in Houston, he ran a lot of, like, and it's from my perspective looking at it, there were a lot of, like, crossing routes that I saw with Houston that I thought it's kind of undervalued, and especially when you have guys like Chig and then the new draft pick that the Titans got from Cincinnati, Wiley, right?
Yeah,
Weil?
the tight end.
Yeah, I mean, combining those two with some crossing routes up the middle or some seam routes, one or the other, and kind of put Kyle Phillips back in the mix and maybe Colton Dowell kind of surprises some people. This team has a lot of potential, and I don't like to use the word if, but really, if they could get things together, this could be a top 1 to 2 team in the AFC South.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of things that gotta come together. I mean, the offensive line scares me,
right?
You know, even though I wasn't super impressed with Nicholas Petit-Frere in his rookie year, he was still a rookie. So the hope was that you would see him, advance in year 2, and the hope is after the 6-game suspension he can still do that. I get it. I get the rules. I do think that the NFL needs to look at some things when it comes to the punishment that they hand out. Like this kind of suspension, like, okay, he broke a rule, and so yes, he should sit out 6 games. But I don't like the barring him from the facility. You know, that's the thing that especially with a young player, that in a situation like this, I just think they should look at that, where he should be allowed to practice. I know he can do training camp and play in the preseason and all that. When the regular season starts, he can't.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is just, I think, detrimental to the player. I get that you're teaching them a lesson and they broke a rule, but I think that's something that the players in the league should get together on and look at.
Yeah, you know, I was chirping about this on the Saturday show, not this past Saturday, but in recent Saturday shows with Nick and Junie, is that the NFL should go case by case with these gambling incidents and or like steroid incidents. Like, for example, when D-Hop had his steroid situation, he had half a season, right, or 4 games, something like that? 6 games, 6 to 4 games?
I think it was. I can't remember. I think it was. Yeah, it was 4.
4. Okay, and then you got guys that are, for example,
Lawan had that too.
Yeah, and then you have Calvin Ridley, who gets suspended for a whole season for the gambling situation, and you have now Nicholas Petit-Frere, who is suspended for 6 games. 6 games. Now, with all that being said, I think the NFL really does need to crack down and look at things case by case, because I do think it is a bit unfair to people that are, a rookie or a sophomore into the NFL seasons, and they don't have a lot of experience. It's just a downfall.
Yeah. No, and the whole gambling conversation, I mean, that's one that's not going away, and obviously they need to adapt. I mean, they're using the rules that have been in place for years, and I think it's just a different time, so they need to adapt, and I'm sure they'll get there eventually, but, I think the NFL sometimes is like any, entity. It takes them a minute to go, oh, yeah, maybe we should kind of change some things, but we'll talk to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick, Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, about all of this, including D-Hop, his latest opinion with that. We'll do that next here on the Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one. It's absurd.
Robbie and Rexrode, mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Delivery's at the door. Can someone please unlock?
It's been an eventful afternoon with a spike in bookings at Claudia's event space.
We'd love to host Mermaid Fest.
She was already planning on having more event planners on hand.
500? That's a lot of tails.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, whoever it is going to be. You want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about on today's show? Hit us up on our phone and text line at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. This is Chase McCabe.
Good to meet you. You know why it's good to meet me? Because I'm smart and I'm right.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe. Nick Frazier hanging out on this Monday, every Monday at 10:30. We get to talk to, he might have the best voice in radio, Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Is with us now. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. Hut, what's up, my friend?
Chase, not much. We had a great weekend, and great to be on the show, officially the Chase McCabe Show, which is really cool. You, not just the suit, you wear many hats, and congratulations on the newest one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and good to have you on and continue this because I enjoy these chats on Monday. I feel like it feels like about 2 months now we've been talking about DeAndre Hopkins and whether he could be a fit for the Titans. I think we've all come to our conclusions on that at this point. But Mike Reese of ESPN reporting over the weekend that the Titans had been aggressive in their pursuit of DeAndre Hopkins, that they have presented him with a contract, as have the Patriots, but the Titans have been more aggressive. What exactly does aggressive mean to you when it comes to the Titans and their pursuit for Hopkins?
I take that to mean, Chase, that both teams are fairly close on the actual earned money part of this. Okay. The money that is guaranteed, the money that if he, starts week 1 on the active roster, he's going to receive. The aggressive nature of, and Mike Reese would certainly know, he's as connected as anyone across the league, the same way Jim Wyatt was when he was at the Tennessean. Chase, I take it to mean there's more incentives in this contract, more aggressive, meaning easier to obtain. Hopkins has been a 1,000-yard receiver 6 of the 8 years that we've seen him play. He was very successful in Bill O'Brien's offense. He also was traded by Bill O'Brien to Arizona and screwed up what was a good thing between him and Watson at the time. I'm surprised that he's considering that, but at the same time, I'm surprised there are only 2 teams that are really chomping at the bit to sign him. I think Kansas City can make a late move, and they're certainly keeping tabs. That makes sense if you want to go win. But here's the thing that I think it comes down to, not just it comes down to money. Yes, that's number one. But how he's going to be used, the vision and as to why you need him on your roster, and how he's going to be treated, which would be like a number 1.5 receiver here in Nashville. And the same thing would go in Foxborough. But look, the reasons as to why you want to sign him, he's still a top 20 receiver in yards per game over the last 2 seasons. He instantly becomes the most productive pass catcher on the Titans offense easily. And you pair that with what the defense was a year ago, and you start to think, okay, maybe, we're closer to being extremely competitive than we are on the rebound or on the rebuild. We'll save that for 2024 when a lot of these contracts are up. But it's unusual to have a guy come in at age 31, Chase, and produce at the high level that he would be expected to produce, not just with the Tennessee Titans, because we've seen a number of wide receivers come through the doors only to be closer to the end of the career than their prime. But there are only a handful of players, 23 players, that have 4,000 yards receiving over or past the age of 31 in the history of the league. 23 receivers over 4,000 yards after they turn the age of 31. Larry Fitzgerald, Tim Brown, Steve Smith, Tony Gonzalez, I'm counting as the 23. Derek Mason is one of them.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice. It's extremely hard to do. And, I look at it as he's a number 2 receiver in this offense because they need their go-to player to be on the opposite side of him and Treylon Burks. Personally, I don't mind being aggressive on incentives. I wouldn't go much further ahead of where New England is, and Kansas City's waiting in the wings too to make an offer. So who knows? But this Titans team, what does this one player do? That's what I would have to ask myself. And what it does is it impacts moments in games. This guy's going to score touchdowns in games. I take that as a good thing because the Titans didn't have many guys that got into the end zone last year.
Jonathan Hutton is with us from Outkick, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. You bring up Kansas City. That's the team that I think everybody, Titans fans should be concerned with because they're going to likely extend Chris Jones at some point. If they do that, they can move money around, and then all of a sudden they're probably in the mix. And if you're Hopkins and you can get the money that you're looking for and jump on an immediate Super Bowl contender, that's what I would do if I was him. How concerned do you think Titans fans should be that Kansas City could truly get in the mix?
I mean, they were always – I think they've always been in the mix, though. They were one of the teams rumored for a possible trade for Hopkins along with the Bills. And then he became a free agent, and the market dictated exactly what is playing out, which he's going to have to choose the best option. And, I mean, within a couple I say a couple, it's a lot of money, but a couple $1 million here or there, and he's made a ton of money through his career. The offers will be virtually the same team to team because no one's going to break the bank unless they have to. I wouldn't negotiate against myself, for instance. Point being, Hopkins joining Kansas City is viewed differently by the national pundits and across the league than with New England or Tennessee. It's just how it is based on Kelsey and the receiving corps, but ultimately Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But they need him as much as the other two teams we've been discussing, at least in my view. They've got Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, who they brought in through a trade last year, and Sky Moore. Those are their top 3 receivers. And Richie James is there, former, by the way, go Blue Raiders, go Big Blue.
Go Blue.
But it's Kelsey making up plays in the dirt, and it would be Mahomes scrambling and finding Hopkins down the field after getting some time in the pocket. In theory, that's the best fit, and in theory, that's how he goes and puts up yards and becomes a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Talking to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Now, the Titans are going to be without Nicholas Petit-Frere for 6 games because he violated their gambling policy. He didn't bet on the NFL, but he bet on something within the team facility. That is a no-no, for sure. And now we've seen guys, Calvin Ridley obviously coming off a year-long suspension because he did bet on the NFL. The rules, in my mind, are black and white. Now, there are things that I think they can look at and maybe adapt to because a lot of these rules were put in place before the app-based gambling, and there are different set of rules for the players and there are like an employee for the team. So a lot of things they can look at. But where are you on all of this right now? Because this is obviously a situation that isn't going to go away anytime soon.
You're right. Look, I believe the handful of players, but it's not that many players that are getting popped for this. I'm surprised by it. I think it's more difficult to find these accounts and these bets than what it may look like based on the reports where a player's being reported as to making a bet and being suspended in some case. It feels like every week there's a different player. It's like 10 players or something like that. It's not a big number. Two things that come to mind, Chase. Number one, this is a great example of the NFLPA being the weakest players association across the major sports in America. 6 games is far too punitive for a player who is making a legal bet, but is doing so potentially while pulling into a parking lot and they hit the Wi-Fi within the facility, sitting in his car getting off of a plane on a Saturday in a legal state where sports betting is allowed through your phone, and making that bet because you just came from a place where you couldn't do it and you want to bet on your college football team or the UFC pay-per-view that night, whatever. To me, that's no harm, no foul. Where they get, and I think it's certainly, I think it's fair, is betting on the NFL. That should be the black and white rule.
Yep.
That you're betting on the league or you're not. And anything underneath the league umbrella counts as that. That's number one. But the NFLPA is the weakest. There's so many different examples. But going back and read about, we'll use Hopkins being suspended 6 games for violating the drug policy, the PED policy. Doesn't matter if he got a tainted, contaminated batch of Tylenol that was mixed into a tub that previously had HGH, whatever. Not going to, not going to matter really all that much. You're going to get 4 games, even if it's lightened on your suspension if you appeal. And it's normally between 4 to 6 games based on your first violation. That seems far worse than betting on the NBA Finals. And it doesn't just seem that, it is. But the reason why they're the same is the NFLPA allowed this. The NFLPA collectively bargained that drug policy for first offense, second offense. Third offenders, you can be suspended or would be suspended up to a year, possibly 2 full seasons. That's written in the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA. In this case, based on what Florio wrote last year, the PA told the league, make up your policy. We're cool with it. You come up with a policy and enforce it. They didn't even negotiate the suspension length. That's on the Players Association for being the patsies of the National Football League. That's what they do. And DeMaurice Smith's on his way out. They point to the 2011 lockout and the holdout and all that with the negotiation and some big victory. The victory here is both sides, the players and the owners, are getting a ton of money in revenue by doing this. And there was so much money involved, Chase, that the PA just said, hey, we want to go ahead and get this going and as soon as possible throughout the league. Come up with your own policy for how you want to enforce betting by players. And that's what they did, because the players are the only ones underneath the roof of any NFL facility who are allowed to place a bet or step foot into a casino, even on their own time. Everyone else cannot bet on anything, and the players can within these guidelines. By now, they should know the rules, all of them. But Chase, think about it from this angle. If I'm an agent, I am stressing this rule, this policy. I'm not just sending an email. If I'm a team, if I'm a coach, I'm worried. I mean, the guys that have been reported and suspended are not detrimental to a roster. I'm eager to find out what happens when a quarterback or a star running back or a star receiver goes down for 6 games for betting on UFC 290 this past Saturday night.
Right.
But they just happened to do it after some treatment at a facility. That's when I'm eager to find out if the GMs, the head coaches, and the owners are really going to point back to, oh, we're suspending, we're releasing this player for the integrity of the sport and the league. Well, let's see Chris Ballard do that with someone that matters on that Colts roster.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a conversation, like I said, that's not going to go away. I think it's ridiculous that if you're just a regular team employee and you're in the travel party, whatever, and you can't even go to a casino and play blackjack. I mean, what is that going to do? I mean, I don't understand that.
They're doing that. They don't want the perception that guys are losing money based on the fact that they flipped their gambling policy.
Right.
But whatever. I mean, guys can blow their money on literally anything they want to. And, the other side of this, just briefly, to me, 1 year betting on the league, 1 year seems reasonable. It seems very punitive. And these guys, especially some of the guys that are on the end of their first term of their contract, they're being released with a year left. We saw that happen in Indianapolis. Well, the year is almost taken as like, okay, apply for reinstatement. Calvin Ridley, you're good. You're back in the league.
Right.
What happens if this comes up in baseball? Hypothetically, if Ronald Acuna is betting on Major League Baseball on an app, what happens and how is he suspended? Is he banned for life the way Pete Rose is? Or is he treated more like an NFL player would based on the era that we're in? And that makes the argument for Pete Rose, if so.
Oh, I think it 100% does. That's a great question. That is a fantastic question. And
how does Rob Manfred handle that versus the way Goodell is handling? Goodell and the NFL are very upfront. They've got these companies, these businesses reporting back on who's betting, and they're suspending them, and they're releasing statements and doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, I haven't heard a peep about this in Major League Baseball.
I haven't either.
And there's no doubt that every sport has players that are doing this. But the way Major League Baseball has treated this, just look at Rose. He is a pariah. Like he's applied for reinstatement. He admitted to gambling on the Reds, doing all this, and he's still treated like he has leprosy or something, right? Like he's shunned, even though it's been more of an open door situation in recent years for throwing out the first pitch or whatever. Vastly different treatment compared to how, just as a general sports public, we view the suspensions in the NFL.
Very, very good stuff. Good to have you on. Good to be back, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, and we could say the same for the PED policy, by the way. Guys can't get in the Hall of Fame in baseball. Hopkins is back in a month and a half. So again, it's very intriguing. Chase, always enjoy the chats, man, and we'll catch up soon.
Absolutely. Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow is the show, weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. I have some more thoughts on that when it comes to betting. We'll do that coming up next. Chase McCabe Show, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas, one of my favorite cities. When you use my promo code CHASE, C-H-A-S-E, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250, all because you use the promo code CHASE. My name. It is that simple. When you sign up, download the app, all those things, put Chase in where it says promo code, and you'll get that $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. And they have it all. Home Run Derby tonight. You got Pete Alonso as the favorite at plus 300. Mookie Betts is participating. He's plus 1,200 on the Superbook Sports app. You can get it all right there. You can even get the All-Star game tomorrow. You can go. They have the Home Run Derby matchups. You can bet on the individual matchups as Mookie plus 180 going up against Vlad Guerrero Jr., who's minus 220. Get it right there on the Superbook Sports app. Use my code CHASE when you sign up. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey there, Nashville. Do you like free speech? Do you love free food? Join FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, as we give away 1,791 free hot chicken sandwiches to celebrate the year that the First Amendment was ratified. Come down to Big Shake's Hot Chicken in downtown Nashville this Wednesday starting at 11 a.m. to grab your free chicken sandwich while supplies last. Learn more at thefire.org/free hot chicken, paid for by the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression.
Hey, are you seeking relief Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Beach Bend Park, that's where my summer happens.
It's where my family's come for generations for great times.
It's where amusement rides and water park slides are just my size.
It's where my friends and I have a blast on the big thrill rides.
It's where we can do all the attractions and not spend time in long lines.
Enjoy classic amusement rides for the whole family, plus Splash Lagoon Water Park with slides from mild to wild. Right now, save $10 off general admission with Wendy's coupon or online promo code. Visit beachbend.com.
It's the latest social networking thingy. We are all over social media. Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame. You can follow me at ChaseOnGame. Also on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville and at the Chase McCabe. See, aren't we cool?
Chase McCabe on 1025 and 1063 The Game. Chase McCabe is on.
I am not that guy you think I was.
1025 and 1063 The Game.
I handed him my bottle, but then he drank down my
Well done, Nick Frazier. Chase McCabe Show, 1025, 1063 The Game. Chase McCabe and Nick Frazier closing things out. Appreciate Jonathan Hutton for joining us. Here's my quick thought on something that he just brought up, because he's right. You haven't heard a peep from Major League Baseball on this. I mean, I can't. I do not believe that a baseball player has not placed a bet on baseball since all this has become legal in a lot of states and it's app-based, and you can't convince me that that hasn't happened. But we don't – if it has, we don't know about it. And if they know about it, they're not telling anybody, or they're just pretending that they don't know about it. And here's why. This is my opinion. They don't want to have to address Pete Rose, because – while I agree from a strictly baseball standpoint, at this point, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
100%.
He's the hit king. Pete Rose is not a good dude, okay? That's the reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's because he's there's a lot of things that maybe he's done and maybe he hasn't that are questionable. And I think even though baseball has cracked the door open for him a little bit, I know he's in the Reds Hall of Fame and he's been allowed at some parks and all of the – I mean, you've seen him at Reds games and stuff. And look, I've met Pete Rose. It was cool. It was like, oh, wow, this is the guy, the hit king. I know why they're not letting him in, because he's not a great person. Okay, fine. And so they're waiting for him to die. Then they'll put him in because he doesn't get to enjoy his moment. That's whatever. From a baseball standpoint, I don't agree with that. But with this, if let's say, and we're going to not use a member of the Atlanta Braves, but if Pete Alonso, all of a sudden it comes out that he bet on a Mets game, and they got to do something about it, because they would have to. They can't ignore it. They would have to do something about it, because their policy is you cannot bet on baseball. Pete Rose got a lifetime ban. Well, are they going to give Pete Alonso a lifetime ban? Probably not.
Exactly.
They're going to suspend him for a year, probably. Well, if you do that, then all of a sudden everybody's going to go, okay, cool. So is Pete in?
Yeah.
Is the ban lifted? So I do kind of wonder if they're just, ignore. And I don't like Rob Manfred. I think he's the worst commissioner in sports. I wonder if they're just kind of turning their back and ignoring it, because then they don't have to address the Pete thing.
Yeah, and the thing with the whole Pete Rose thing, and he mentioned Ronald Acuna Jr. That guy is going 40.
We're not doing that.
I know. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, if you have the biggest name in baseball doing that,
right.
That could become an issue, and you're thinking exactly for the whole Pete Rose situation, 100% should be in the Hall of Fame, no questions asked.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. That Hutton brought up baseball, because you're right. They seem to be quiet when it comes to all of this right now. Speaking of, this is what a segue. Speaking of baseball, the home run derby tonight, and usually I would give out best bets. I like Vlad Guerrero to win it tonight. He's plus 400. Alonso is the favorite at plus 300. What a transition. But I like Vladdy Jr. Luis Robert is plus 525. Julio Rodriguez is plus 550. Mookie's plus 1,200. And you might dabble a little bit on Mookie. I love that. But he's got to go up against Vladdy in the first round. And to me, that's going to be tough. So
it is.
I like Vladdy.
Yeah, I'm actually going the opposite way. I'm actually going Mookie Betts to win it all. That was my
really.
That was my pick to click with Willie and all of them on their show. Take it to the bank, excuse me.
Okay.
And I just think with the home run derby currently, you got to have like a fast ping swing pattern.
Yeah.
Because you have Adolis Garcia, Mookie Betts, Julio Rodriguez. All those guys can hit the ball quick, and it's all time. And don't get me wrong, like Vlad and Pete, they definitely got the swing pattern down. But I don't know. I just think the more hefty hitters are gonna have a little bit of a downfall.
It also depends on who's throwing to you.
Correct.
I mean, a lot of these guys will use a longtime BP coach, but some will bring in their dad, and the rhythm's off, and so I'd be curious of that. You got to have the right person throwing to you in it too. I like the home run derby. I don't really care about the All-Star game anymore. I mean All-Star games in general just don't do it for me. But the home run derby's fun.
I will say this little tidbit about Mookie Betts. He is a Una baseball product. A lot of people don't know in Nashville, Una used to be a baseball area. Now it's Una Bears for football. Yes, I am a part of that Una baseball era. So, yeah, Mookie grew up in the Una area for baseball, and now, hey, look at him now in the pros doing home run derby.
Music City Bets tells me they were going with Randy Arozarena.
It's not a bad pick. That is not a bad pick.
Plus 1050 on the Superbook Sports app. So, there you go. Rick, good luck with that. I'm going Vladdy, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Real quick, I wanted to get to this. We referenced it earlier during the Pulse, but Ellie De La Cruz has been so much fun to watch since his debut with the Reds. Check out what he did this weekend.
High leg kick coming to the plate. He'll steal third base. Ellie De La Cruz will without even a throw. In fact, the third baseman, Brian Anderson, didn't even go. Now he's coming home, and he's safe. They threw the ball back to the pitcher. He fell asleep with the ball in his glove, and De La Cruz took off from third base into home, and he steals home while the pitcher tries to unload the ball to the plate. Couldn't get it to the catcher in time, and De La Cruz has simply stolen a run all by himself. How about that?
How about that, indeed? That from the Reds radio network. Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, I've made the comparison that he reminds me when Ronald Acuna made his debut for the Braves. That just a personality, different type player, but so gifted. And the fact that he stole 3 bases in 1 inning and then came home and stole home, literally stole a run, is just crazy. And, the Reds might be the most fun to watch in baseball right now.
They could make a deep run at it. I'm just saying, add 1 to 2 pitchers at the trade deadline, they could be contending for something.
They could indeed, for sure. That is going to do it for us. Thanks so much for playing along with us. Coming up next, Caroline, Willett, and D-Mace. They'll have the latest on the D-Hop hunt and how aggressive the Titans can be for him. That's all next here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.